So Eren Jaeger's character has definitely gone through a massive traversal from what we seen him as at the beginning of the story, with this passion, this hatred, and this revenge that he wants on these monsters known as Titans, to the current stage that he is in. There is a massive shift there. It's undeniable. He has changed so much. The current Eren Jaeger, which is deemed a monster, potentially a villain, potentially evil, which is entirely hypothetical, what led to this massive shift? What led to this jarring change that Eren went through? In my mind, there is a lot of things, but obviously if you read the story, one that is the most prominent is the traversal for the emotions and memories from previous Titan users to the current. When you think about this in the grand scheme of things, it's a very detrimental thing. Relaying the emotions of a previous Titan user, relaying those memories to back up those emotions even to the current user, can easily and well and truly completely skewer one's original ideology, completely change and warp a person's perception and even a person's emotion because of that previous user, especially if that previous user's emotion or mentality or ideology is very powerful, such as hatred. Funny enough, this ultimately backs onto Eren's original character design. His foundation is a revenge plan, something that is very, very strong, something that is very prominent. The reason I mention that is because the foundation for Eren's character and how strong of a passion he has for killing Titans will ultimately transfer over to the next Titan user. Because of the emotion and the mentality and the ideology that he oozes out now, his original foundation is going to be a lot more warped. And that revenge scheme against Titans going on to the next Titan user will also theoretically be warped. The thing is, when you think about the perception of that, when you think about the next user obtaining Eren's ideology and his emotions and his memories, what also comes into play is the knowledge of that next user. If they know the history of the Titans and the Eldia race and the Mali race, having a hatred for Titans will be a legitimate foundation for a racial war. What I mean by that is that character will grow up hating Titans, but with the knowledge that the Titans and the history of them come from the Eldian race, thus hating the Eldian race and what they stand for. A very big difference to what Eren grew up to know. Even if that child was an Eldian, they may still hate the Eldian race. Revenge scheme against his own kind because of what Eren's original foundation was, which was something else entirely. Just the preconception of Titans and not the history of it. The reason why that's important to kind of note is it kind of helps flesh out what Eren has now. Eren has the Attack Titan memories and emotions, the Warhammer Titans memories and emotions, and potentially even stuff from the royal family. This is not something that's easily obtained or easily overcome or subdued or controlled. This is something that runs wild and free. What's important to note about this is the amount of memories, the amount of emotions that potentially could slew onto Eren, and how many different perspectives Eren is currently witnessing and feeling. From Grisha to Kruger and whoever else, from the information we know, is pretty much one-sided till the Eldia race. You have the Warhammer Titan, which I guess you could say is lent towards the Mali race with that perception and that emotion, and then you have like the founding ability, which is like a direct connection. When you think about those emotions and how there's kind of like a chain of effect that goes through it, right? So Kruger influences Grisha, who then influences Eren, who then influences someone else. Same thing happens with the Warhammer Titan, and how that all kind of confides into Eren like that. The shift for his mentality is understandable. The bigger question is, does he himself understand it, or is it something that he's raveling in? Is it something that he's completely lost control of? And this brings up some very interesting questions that I've seen a lot of people talk about, is that Eren may know all of this is going on. He may be kind of confiding in the idea that all of these memories are kind of swirling around in his mind, all of these emotions and the way he feels, but he's willing to wear that, and he's willing to use that as a power. He's willing to use that as a sacrifice to push forward and to kind of achieve things that no one else has. Mind you, Eren is the clearest depiction of someone with multiple Titan shifting abilities, and look how that is affecting him. Look how much of a change he's gone through. The bigger question is, how detrimental are these emotions and these things that Eren is feeling from these different previous Titan users returns to his original foundation, to his revenge scheme against Titans. For the most part, this is well and truly a make or break point for Eren. This is something that he could ultimately come out on top of, and I still well and truly believe that he could come out on top still, but he has a very long way to go. He has a lot of sorrow to wade through. He has a lot of stuff that he has to come to accept, such as the indirect innocent killings that has taken place because of him. You know, the death of men, women, and children because of Eren's negligence in terms of the attack on Marley, something that he did not care about at all. His care of life is seeping away further and further. I think that attack on Marley, I think the interaction with Mikasa and Armin after it, I think the way he thinks about life and death and the situations that he is currently trying to do is heavily influenced, and I think that's a pretty obvious thing for the most part. But that doesn't make him necessarily evil, nor does it necessarily make him a villain. For someone that is influenced to that extent, the mindset, the monstrosity that is Eren Jaeger's mind right now, the complexity of it can crack and fold over on one another. It can implode, but it can ultimately be redeemed. Eren has always shown cases of being one of those redeemable characters. The line that is drawn in terms of a character that can be redeemed is very, very far in this story. Yes, Eren at this point has done a lot of things that would equivalent to him being a monster, but maybe this is something that's not necessarily in his control. This is something that is much more bigger than himself. This is something that's completely messing with his mind and his vision. The recent interactions between Mikasa and Armin showcase a very interesting side of Eren. On one hand, it could be Eren trying to free and push away Mikasa and Armin to keep them safe, but on the other hand, you could also see that he is pushing away his opponents, pushing away his enemies, pushing away his friends because he feel like that they will be a threat in the future. The fact that you can split up those ideas goes to showcase that Eren's ideologies overlap each other. The foundation and his original mindset mixed with the Attack Titan and mixed with the Warhammer Titan and the royal family stuff are all kind of overlapping. The directions he wants to go, the things that he wants to do, swirling around, and the results are very unclear. I don't think Eren Jaeger at the moment is necessarily pulling the results himself on what he wants to do. If anything, Zeke would be the one to help Eren draw out a response, a result. If there is so many options for Eren to take, why is he so set and so confident in what he is doing right now? With so many different emotions and memories that conflict with one another, Zeke would be the best example of someone that is drawing out a result for him, kind of narrowing down the decisions for Eren to make it easier for him to accept them, to make Eren see some sort of one-way track and one-way path, when realistically the options are ultimately endless. Eren's mind at the moment is well and truly all over the place. There's a lot of things that come into play. He could evidently be playing this off, you know, pushing away Mikasa and Armin because he wants to save them, but I think that ultimately belittles everything that he is currently going through. I think now of all times would be a little bit weird because I think the attack on Marley, with the results that it upholded with the death of men, women, and children because of Eren, and the abundance of other people that he has indirectly killed because of his negligence, is something that he does not care about, holds a lot of weight. That very brutal nature holds a lot of weight in Eren's mind, and if he ever has to confront it, hell, he may even be scared to confront it. There's going to be a lot of sorrow, a lot of hatred, a lot of darkness. Ultimately, the people that could necessarily save him from that are his closest friends. Maybe that is something that he is scared of. At the moment, I don't think Eren is putting on an act. I don't think he is doing this to benefit any sort of side, let alone himself. I think he is completely lost in a sea of thoughts that aren't his own, in a sea of emotion that isn't his own, and the results are being pulled out from Zeke. The answers that Eren has, supposedly, are being drawn up and handed to Eren from Zeke on a silver platter. Is Zeke the mastermind of this whole situation? Potentially. Is there a bigger thing at play here? Most definitely. There is so many different options that could be going on right now with Eren. There's so many different options that could be going on with Zeke, Eldia, Marley. With the series in its final stretch, anything is ultimately possible. But it's without a doubt in my mind that Eren's mentality at the moment is severely a monstrosity, but it is not of his own accord. It's something that he can't control, something that he can't handle, something that has so many different factors in play. Eren Jaeger's mind is in fact one of the monsters, but that does not mean that he is not redeemable to any extent. And that's basically it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.